Hi, and welcome to a new episode of ESG Impact, the New Pioneers interview series. Today's guest will be Silvia Manca. She is Head of Social Impact at the European Investment Fund. Hello, Silvia.
Hello, and thank you very much for having me here today.
It is a real pleasure. Could you please give us a quick snapshot of the EIF?
Of course. So the European Investment Fund is part of the European Investment Bank Group. And what we like to call ourselves is the financing arm to support small businesses in Europe. It is important to notice that our business model is based on an intermediated type of finance, meaning that we don't invest directly in companies, either SMEs or smaller companies or infrastructure projects, but we do operate via an extensive networks of financial intermediaries across different type of products and market segments. Our main business lines are the guarantee business, let's say, and the venture capital, private equity, and the private credit asset classes.
Great. And could you share with us a little bit your core philosophy concerning impact investing?
Absolutely. So impact investing is really close to my heart because after a few years at the EIF, in the role of a project manager, I landed in this team that was initiating at the time the implementation of the impact investing approach via the Social Impact Accelerator at the time, the first pan-European fund of fund targeting social enterprises in Europe. And since then, I've been witnessing and contributing to a certain extent to the growing of this orientation for the EIF, to the extent that now impact investing is one of the really strategic driver of the EIF. In my current role, which is to shape and design what we call in-house mandates, meaning investment programs, based on which then our investment team goes to the market and support, in this case, venture capital and private equity funds that have an impact investing approach. And our core philosophy, I would say that it's not an asset class, impact investing, but it's rather an investment approach that we wish to implement across the board. Admittedly, we started small, as I said, as a pilot in 2013. But then over time, we managed to grow the type of instruments that we deploy and to test new form of financing, for instance, also by not only supporting impact venture capital funds, but also supporting incubator, accelerators, testing social impact bonds or payment by results, innovative instruments and others. And we are today in 2024 with the product palette addressing this space that is very diversified. Certainly, the venture capital and private equity is a key pillar, but alongside that, we also have guarantee products and debt products. Now, another key aspect, I would say, on our core philosophy is also what type of target we have in the market. Certainly, the expert in the sector know very well that when we are talking about impact-driven businesses, we don't have a unique definition amongst the EU member states. And depending on what aspects we are prioritizing, like profit orientation or legal form, we might have different definitions. But what we really look at from an EIF perspective is what is the common denominator for all these companies. And the common denominator is the intentional, tangible, and positive pursuit of impact. So against, let's say, this background, and with this in mind, we managed to pull out different products that might serve different market needs and also different market maturities, in a sense. I would summarize that our core philosophy in that respect. Yeah.
Okay, that's a nice program, I would say. Now, in how many impact funds do you invest, or could we say, do you manage?
Yes. So, looking specifically at the social impact investment, because of course we do have also the environmental and climate part, but I say my field of expertise lies more on the social impact. Since 2013, which is our official entry point, let's say, in the impact investing market, Together with our investment team, we managed, as I said, to grow over time the portfolio. We have invested in 52 funds so far, and investing more than 600 million in these funds. And then, of course, one of the key concepts of our intervention is to produce a leverage, so to multiply the resources that we invest in intermediaries to generate more resources for the companies. So typically at the EIF, as looking at our entire portfolio, this leverage factor is 1 to 5. So for €1 that we invest, we tend, via our programs, to generate €5 of additional financing in the market.
Very ambitious.
And another point that I must say also, if I put the overall impact investing development spectrum, it is true, as certainly you know, that there are markets that are a little bit more mature, perhaps because of the regulation in place or because of their traditional operations in that area. But I would like also to thank our investment team for having put a very important development effort in contributing to creating also an impact ecosystem in markets that are more new. And while I must say we have an important number of funds, for instance, in markets like France or Italy or Spain, but over time we contributed to set up the first impact institutional funds in countries such as Croatia, such as Poland, such as Czech Republic, Hungary. So it's an investment effort, but this is, I believe, also our role to contribute to a systemic change in that respect.
And that also properly underlines the pioneering angle we were just discussing. We also had a preparation call together, and there you had mentioned the Gender Smart initiative. Can you share more details about it?
Absolutely. So amongst my various files, let's say, that I look after, there is indeed the Gender Smart initiative, which is an holistic program and has several work streams, let's say. The first one is that in the program, in the European Union program InvestEU that we manage and that we launched in 2022, we made available to the market the Gender Smart initiative, whereby the EIF commits to invest in a certain number of funds that at the leadership level of their funds, they respect certain gender criteria. And this is, I would like to stress that this is not a topic which is treated in isolation. So it's not a separate product or mandate. It's really a transversal objective because together with the European Commission, who is our mandator for the InvestEU program, and not only that, but also others, the objective was really to promote, to bolster the female participation in the venture capital, private equity, and private credit industry, regardless of the thematic. So across all the possible sectors, thematics, and verticals that we might target with the InvestEU. And our target is 25% of the funds by the end of the InvestEU period, which will happen in 2028. And I'm happy to report that we are above this target. Of course, the program is still in the ramp-up phase, but we do see really a positive development. That is when it comes to the investment side. But the initiative, indeed, that we discussed together a few days ago, it's fairly recent, has been launched at the end of March, and has been launched thanks to our cooperation with the European Commission and also the EIB advisory services at the EIB. And it is the Empowering Equity Mentoring Program. The EIF, together with the EIB, has created this brand, which is Empowering Equity, that technically is an annual gathering where we meet with fund managers or people that would like indeed to set up their funds or they would like to seek advice. And we provide a masterclass about how the EIF process works, what are the typical aspects we look at when deciding on investments. But it has become over time also an occasion to discuss about key topics in the industry. For instance, last year we had a very interesting debate on the corporate culture in the venture capital industry. Now, within this brand, the Empowering Equity, during these events, one consistent request from the audience was, look, we do need a possibility to interact with people that are more experienced than us and that are willing, let's say, to provide advice, even on very simple thing. I must admit that at the beginning I was a little bit skeptical because I said, but normally you build this type of interactions, either you surf on LinkedIn or in conferences. But then I realized that I was wrong, because sometimes, depending also on the approach and the character of people, they need some support to take this step and get in contact with someone. So long story short, we contacted a few female professionals in the 3 asset classes: venture capital, private equity, and private credit, that were willing to pursue these give back cultures. Look, I made it in the industry. I went through a lot, and now I really want to help maybe young female professionals or female professionals that would like to enter the industry or switch the industry, or they might have some struggles. And we set up this very simple program. The keep it simple was the key rule, based on which we created a platform where mentees, so professionals who are seeking advice, can contact these mentors, and we cluster, let's say, the type of topics that these mentors indeed are responsible for. That goes from setting up a new fund to regulatory requirements, but also to personal advice, like how to reconcile, for instance, motherhood and the career in the industry, or career advice, and so on and so forth. And I must say that I was overwhelmed by the positive feedback, because the day we launched the program, we received an overwhelming number of questions, and this is continuing. So we started small, but our objective is to grow this over time, to onboard new mentors, and also identify some typical trends of questions, so we can also build compendium that might be useful also for other professionals.
This is a fantastic program. We also at the LPA believe highly, let's say, that mentoring can help out, be it on information sharing, experience sharing, and also kind of succession planning, knowledge management. So from there on, really very nice. If we would now take a step back concerning the fields of ESG and impact, do you think that the efforts right now are bold enough, or would we require an extra mile?
I see. Couple of considerations here. So certainly there's been a tremendous effort over the past years to look at ESG matters, and the impact funds that are indeed pursuing impact investing strategies are, in my view, also ahead of the curve. There has been a tremendous effort also in collecting data to bring also transparency to the ESG matters. So I think that there is no doubt that there is a general, let's say, consensus around that. Now, are we bold, or can we be bolder? Certainly. We can always be bolder, but then of course we need to contextualize and be realistic. On my side, from what I see, there are 2 aspects that in my view are worth exploring. The first one that we are currently actually testing now with the programs that we manage under InvestEU is the relevance of the non-financial support vis-a-vis the market actors, being intermediaries like in our cases, but also being companies for those institutions that do direct investments. Thanks to the advisory, for instance, just to give you an example, we were able to make available to the market several initiatives that are just accompanying our investments. So on one side we have the investments in typical business model, but then alongside that we have supporting mechanisms. In the field of sustainability, for instance, we launched the Green Guide for fund managers that is based on a simple tool where venture capital, private equity and private credit funds can assess their contribution to the climate action and environmental sustainability criteria of the EIF. So it's a nice way, it's a simple way to see where do they stand vis-a-vis the EIF criteria in that type of contribution. The overall gender initiative is also related to the advisory world. So for me it has become clear that if we aim for systemic change, the investment alone is a crucial component, but it needs to be accompanied also with the advisory or capacity building, as we call it, component. And we see these initiatives beneficial to the current programs, but I wish that in the future we can even go bolder. The second point, particularly on impact investing, that we are not doing right now, but I hope we will be able to do it in the future, is to explore blended instruments in the form of investment, maybe accompanied with grants, particularly for to help new funds, for instance, take off the ground and set up their strategy, set up the fund. So I think that would be important, particularly for the earlier segment. The third thing, I know I mentioned two, but now I'm thinking about the third one, is to incentivize and attract more private investors and institutional investors to this particular sphere. There is clearly an interest, but I think that we will need more effort to incentivize and onboard these investors.
Completely makes sense. Incentivization is really important and we should use it as much as we can, and also lead by example and show exactly what we could develop together. We like it concrete here in this interview series. What would be, in your eyes, the five biggest changes that you had implemented within your institution?
So, of course, I mean, every big change requires a village, right, to make it happen. So I cannot claim that I acted alone, not at all. So maybe I would identify a few areas where I believe I made an important contribution together with my colleagues, of course. So the first one is the growth of the impact business line. I mentioned already that we start very, very, very small in the past, and then in a span of a decade, we moved from a pilot in the microfinance space of roughly 20 million to more than 2 billion of assets to be then invested that then will generate the famous leverage effect that I mentioned before. So from what was marginal, ancillary, and really a pilot, now this has become one of the key strategic drivers, to the extent that few years ago, the EIF embraced like a new thematic approach. So we are moving from a more generalist type of investment or guarantee activities towards more thematic. And these four pillars of the thematics are sustainability, are competitiveness, innovation, and social impact. So it's really one of the key drivers. And it has required certainly effort, because to grow in activity, you need to build a compelling narrative, you need to convince internal and external stakeholders, but I must say we had, of course, a strong support. For instance, right now at the EIF, there are 3 teams placed in different parts of the organizations that are fully dedicated to this line. So I believe it is an important achievement. Then the second point is, still in the field of gender smart, what started as simply an investment initiative, it has become now an holistic movement, an holistic approach. And we put together with my team a network of, I like to call them ambassadors within the EIF. So people were really keen to go extra mile, even in maybe in functions that were a little bit remote from the topic. And we have this network of people that goes from the investment team to risk management, to legal services, to marketing, to the mandate design, encompassing the entire organization. And it's thanks to this network where the EIF has started to, for instance, produce proprietary research with a gender angle, so to bring more transparency and to bring actually more data and considerations in the market. We have also set up a KPI at the level of the EIF as institution, based on which we do target across all our investments a certain percentage of investment in funds meeting certain gender criteria. We have created our own brand, the Empowering Equity. We have created also programs to mobilize and to onboard investments dedicated to gender smart from national promotional institutions and other investors. So it's really like a systemic movement. We have also, together with the EIB, created the Women Climate Leader Network, so a network of professionals from the private sectors, of female professionals from the private sectors, that is dedicated indeed to analyze and make bold contribution to also identify and better bring visibility to the nexus between climate actions and the gender focus. So that, I would say, are my two key maybe areas or projects that are spread over a number of years, but of which I'm really proud of.
And you can be honestly creating the practice within the EIF, having ambassadors spreading the right news and messages, and then finally watching, monitoring what's happening, and finally also pushing that via a network outside. That completely makes sense. Thanks a lot, Silvia, for all those very profound insights and also for your passion and engagement.
Thank you so much, a pleasure. And of course, on the EIF side, we stand ready to provide further insights to the topic.
Thanks a lot.